This is my question. Why now? You've been attacked by trolls for donkey's years. I mean, people have not liked your views, so what? But why have you chosen this juncture to come out into the open and speak about attempts made to harass you?
So the words you used, hassled and harried, I would probably use a different word. I would say I'm angry and I feel that it's my duty, not in an altruistic way, my duty to myself, to actually speak out. And there is a context to what may seem like an outburst on Twitter. And the context is this. For the last year, I've had a very intriguing exposure to just how terrified the news media industry is of the government. We all know this in a way. We've seen several news channels that are absolutely supplicant to power in a way that perhaps, at least in my living adult memory, I have not seen before. Everybody talks about the emergency.
I mean, they've lost all pretensions to being objective. I mean, they're
completely...
And
people talk about the emergency, but I was 4 years old in the emergency, so I cannot use that as a reference point. So my reference point is the
I started my career at that time.
But my reference point is the 22 years or 21 years that I have experienced as a journalist. And in the last year, we all know that at least one or two of the channels, probably the most watched ones, are now entirely supplicant to the government of the day. Fine, that's their choice. What I encountered was something very intriguing after I left ndtv. I had a number of promoters talk to me about doing shows on their networks.
In fact, you did too.
I did come on as an analyst, but the conversation was about coming on as a host. And towards the end of those conversations, as they were to be closed, at least 3 different prominent media owners said to me to my face that we love you, we love your work, but we can't use your work because the top 2-3 people in the party and the government do not like you.
I mean, look, you're leaving nothing to the imagination.
This is what was said to me.
Because if you say the top 2 or 3 people...
this is what was said to me.
Okay.
This is what was said to me.
I mean, now, anybody knows who are the top 2 or 3 people in the government and the party.
So okay. I said nothing. I said, fine, that's your prerogative as a owner of an organization. I then did, when this happened 2-3 times, it was followed by a group in Andhra Pradesh that approached me to start a new news channel. And they came to me and they said, will you do some work for us? And I said, sure, do you have a license? They said, we have a license. They came back and they told me, we've done some conversations in Delhi. We're not from Delhi, so we didn't know anybody. And we were told that there are 2-3 people whom, again, the top 2-3 people don't like. So please avoid giving them work for your network. And I was named as one of them. I don't think it's fair to the other 2 if I name them, but I was told that there are 2-3 of this, like a kind of de facto shortlist of people to avoid.
It's sort of almost like a blacklist.
Almost like a blacklist. At this point, because over the years, professionally and personally, I do have decent equations with several BJP leaders, and therefore I'm not talking about the whole party.
You are a journalist who met
people
across the political spectrum.
Yes. After a few months, more recently, another set of promoters came to me and said, we have a license, would you like to consult? This is now beginning to feel like deja vu, but I need people to understand that there's a context to what I said yesterday, and I said it after observing this and joining the dots for about a year and a half.
Okay.
We'll come to that point later, but it's important that you bring it up because one of the things I want to say about intimidation is that there are 2 kinds of intimidation. There is the obvious kind of intimidation where somebody threatens you, where somebody abuses you, where somebody makes a physical threat. But there is another kind of more insidious intimidation. It is harder to spot, it is harder to define, and it is much harder to place in an FIR. And that is the kind of insidious intimidation I'm talking about, where regulatory frameworks such as licenses, who you give them to, who you give clearances to, what you can use, who you can use the law against, and so on. The environment of fear you can create where promoters, I'm not defending the promoters, but the promoters believe that there's a consequence for them in some way if they hire some people, right? This is very grave intimidation, and we don't call it out because we think, oh, how do we define it? Because it's not visible in the way that it is, let's say in Pakistan, where a journalist gets bundled off the road and put into a van and taken away by the military.
As you rightly say, it's far more insidious.
It creeps up on you.
Yes, that's correct.
It creeps up on you. So to complete my story and how I got to this point, recently, I had new set of promoters. And the reason I'm not naming them is I'm not a proprietor. When they're ready to announce their project, they will. But they came to me and they said, we have a license. We don't have to go. So I said, you're sure? Yeah, we have a license. We want you to come and consult and advise us on how to create an editorial team. I said, fine. Some BJP leaders got wind of this. In a friendly way, I will not say in a menacing way, said to me a few months ago, hey, listen, we hear you're doing this. Those are not people, those are people who are considered ideologically opposed to us. They seem to be on the other side of the divide, your promoters. So therefore, don't do this.
So they're telling you in so many words.
Don't do this.
Don't work for anybody who's not in favor
because
of
you'll get
us.
into trouble. Because in a nice way, we like you. We like you, we're fond of you. We don't want to see you get into trouble.
What kind of trouble can you get into?
Well, I assume they think that the organization could get into trouble and therefore, and I was told that, you've gone from the frying pan to the fire, i.e. from NDTV to this. Why do you want to do that to yourself?
Okay, 1 minute.
Yeah.
You have gone on record saying that there was some sort of a meeting.
I'm coming to that.
Okay,
give me just 1 minute. So then this happened a few months ago and I said to this person, who's a different person from the conversation I had in the middle of last year, I said, I want to work. And I was actually told, why don't you not do journalism till 2019? Do something else. Now sit this one out. Sit this out.
Get a fellowship, go somewhere out of the country.
Go teach, all that, right? I ignored it. I carried on with my work. 2-3 days ago, a trade industry website wrote a rather premature story on Barkha's coming up with a new news channel. That, I think, led to the last set of developments. I got a visit from a close personal friend yesterday who has nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with journalism, but knows somebody in the BJP very well. And said to me in a bizarre sort of way, we can't talk inside your house. So I said, sorry. And said to me in the middle of this scorching summer afternoon, we need to go out. So we went to the neighborhood park and said, look, you may think I'm being over the top, but I have been tipped off by somebody who attended a party meeting, a section. Now, I don't want to make it look like all of the BJP said. Some BJP people had a meeting. At this meeting for 45 minutes, this imminent channel.
45 minutes?
So,
and they're ruling the country?
So they say.
There are 1001 problems.
So, well, we don't know what level of BJP, but they were BJP leaders, maybe not the ones who are interested with ruling the country, who discussed what is this channel, how have they got under our nose and got the license, it has to be stopped, open up her bank accounts, find something you can trouble her with, who does she live with, who is she dating, phone hacks, whatever it takes,
and you even
shut
said
her
the
down.
Income tax department, enforcement
All
directorate.
of this was conveyed to me. And the last line was, I hope she understands the severity of the situation, tell her to get some personal security. And tell her that she should not take this lightly. This is what was said to me. In that moment, I joined the dots with the BJP leader who had told me to sit out till 2019, said the government will not let the channel start. I thought of a Raghav Behel, whose license has been waiting for 1.5 years. Bloomberg, while Republic got it in 3 months. I thought of all the promoters who had said to me, we'd love to keep you, but we've been told there'll be consequences for us if we do. I'm not saying this is the entire party. There are BJP people who have given me interviews in the last few months for my digital platform. They have met me in a professional way. They have met me in a civil way. So I don't want to make
So you're merely saying this could be a section of the BJP.
A section
of the government.
Well, a section of the party that definitely has influence on the government, because I believe that licenses and control...
Earlier you mentioned that this was being objected to by the top guys, the top people.
So let me say this again. The promoters said to me that I was not liked by the top people in the party and government. The promoters said to me. Let's distinguish. There are 3 things I'm saying. The promoters said to me, we can't keep you because the top people in the government and party don't like you. That's the promoters. Then the BJP leader I confronted said, we're not calling anybody. This is the promoters being fair for themselves. Then
your friend.
A professional acquaintance. Then a third BJP leader said to me, the government won't allow any channel. It's ill-advised for you to get involved in this channel. Forget journalism till 2019. And then my friend who is not with the BJP was tipped off by a BJP person who attended a meeting of 3 or 4 people of the BJP, and where it was decided that whatever has to happen, we have to shut this, not let this project happen and not let she can't come back on TV.
All right. Now I'm saying.
So these are four different
All
things, right?
You see, what has been on the social media, I got to know about it from Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there are all kinds of people who've given all kinds of reactions to what you've
That's
said. Somebody
fine, that's
said,
the nature of Twitter.
What is Burkha scared, or why didn't she name
I'm
and
not
shame
scared.
them?
I can't
why
name.
didn't you lodge a first information
I cannot
report?
break against whom? How do you lodge an FIR against insidious intimidation, which is effectively about using instruments of power to create a coercive environment of fear? Who do you lodge an FIR
The
against?
CBI has lodged a report, unknown persons.
That's what I'm saying. And by the way, when I have received threats on social media from extreme right-wing supporters last year, I went and deposed before a magistrate in Saket. I filed an FIR. 3 days ago, the police informed me that they could not find the people who had been issuing me threats of death and rape, right? But so it's not that when there has been somebody to act against, I have not taken the legal route. But I'm not talking about an FIR-able
All right, I got
complaint.
you.
I'm talking about something much more insidious.
And you're saying this is going beyond the social media. You know what happened to Rana Ayub. They morphed her picture, put it in pornographic videos.
But that's happened to me. Okay, pornographic videos not happened to me, but I have been, my images have been photoshopped a zillion times. I have been placed on, there's a Kashmiri man, one of my Kashmir reports has been picked up, where I've had to take a lift with a bearded young man who I don't even know his name.
And on a motorcycle.
And Postcard News said she's going with this terrorist to the border to plant a bomb. Or to collaborate, and they said this is that Hizbul Mujahideen Zakir Musa. Now you tell me, when I recount it to people laugh because it sounds so surreal. There's a photoshopped image of me sitting with Arvind Kejriwal where I'm holding a phone in my hand. That image was morphed to make it look like a stack of cash. And in the WhatsApp circuit, it came back to me. But what I'm talking about right now is none of it.
It's going beyond all this fake news.
I'm not talking about fake news. I'm not talking about physical threats. I would file an FIR if there was fake news or a physical threat. I am talking about sections of the BJP and the government controlling the airwaves in a way that is discriminatory, creating an environment of fear in a way that media promoters will decide that the only people they should give shows to are people whom the government approves of. I am talking about at least 3 to 4 different BJP politicians having told me in an almost friendly, avuncular way, find something else to do for a while.
You've said,
how do you file an FIR on these last set of things?
I got you. So, I don't want you to go over all that you've already said. Let's look at the big picture.
Yes.
Why this atmosphere of fear? Why is it that those who want to promote television channels, those who are a part of the media, that you are, people like you and me are, you've been around for more than 2 decades, I've been around for about 4 decades. But the thing, is it that this atmosphere of not just intolerance, but fear is gripped a large section of our fraternity, journalists like you and me, to the point where we've got scared? And you have spoken out, many others have preferred to, yes, get that fellowship, become teachers. What is the way forward? What are you planning to do? And what is the message that you want to send out to all those who are watching you and listening to you at this point of time?
So I think it's no good for Indians to go and watch a movie called The Post and say, oh wow, and then come back and do exactly the opposite of it in their newsrooms. I blame the government half and I blame the industry the other half. If I were to apportion blame, but this is not about apportioning blame, but if I were to analyze the problem, I would say that if the media wanted to stand up to power, and it could be the BJP today, the Congress tomorrow, it can. I think...
So one second, let's get back to L.K. Advani.
Yeah.
Well, L.K. Advani said that, people, the editors, when they were asked to bend, they crawled.
I think that is what has happened.
Now you're saying they're crawling without even being asked to bend because they're scared?
So I don't know, I can't prove. Promoters have told me in some cases that they have got calls. In other cases, promoters have gone and asked for permission. And I have said to them, really, you went to ask the government who you can keep and who you can't? If you give them that space, of course they'll say, yeah, we don't like so-and-so, we like so-and-so. Like if somebody came to me and said, should I keep Paranjoy or should I keep Ornab? I'll have an opinion, right? So, I mean, in a similar way, if you go and say, do you like Barkha? Do you like Karan Thapar? Do you like Rajdeep Sardesai? the BJP leader is likely to say, no, we don't like these three people. They covered the 2002 riots. Because where does this all go back to? It goes back
to the first communal riot, which was broadcast live, where you, Rajdeep, and a whole lot of other people were involved.
And I believe that we have neither been forgiven nor forgotten for that. And I think since then we have been shunned, but not in a way that... So I don't want to make this about the BJP because I didn't experience this in the Vajpayee government. I have not what I'm experiencing now.
So you're saying this is something to do with the present government, the Modi government, the Narendra Modi government?
And not all of it, because as I said, there are people in the BJP who've been very professional in dealing with me, including in the last year and a half. They have been professional. I have asked them for interviews. We have done interviews. They have never sort of been anything but civil. Even the people who have advised me to lie low till 2019 have done it in a friendly way. So I am nowhere saying that a BJP person has called me and made a physical threat to me. Yes, BJP supporters have on social media. So that has happened, and I have registered FIRs and had them reach a dead end, or taken it on with Twitter, or reported them on Twitter, etc. I am talking about why the industry is not recognizing that in print, digital and TV, the sector that is controlled most by the government is TV news, because it controls the airwaves. And we have not fought. We fight for newspapers, we fight for digital. No industry member has actually fought for getting government out of these clearances, this web of clearances.
No, in fact, when the then Information and Broadcasting Minister Smriti Irani had suggested that a panel be set up to monitor the digital media. I mean, there's been quite a lot of...
On digital, on yes. TV news, which is the most controlled by government medium, there has been, yes, backlash to self-regulate content, right, with the national NBSA, whatever, Broadcasting Standards Authority, but none to actually question in this day and age, in the ease of doing business, a liberalized economy.
And the News Broadcasting Standards Authority has no teeth. If you remember in the Gohar Raza case and Z, I mean, they imposed something, they couldn't do anything.
Nothing. And now let's come to the last point of political partisanship. So you mentioned two BJP members of parliament who own media networks. There are members of Congress who own newspapers. There are members of the NCP that owns a newspaper in Maharashtra, in Punjab.
I mean, everywhere there are
Pandas, the Jay Panda
television. And if they are not directly owning it, there are individuals with affiliation.
So I will say to you that maybe when I was young, I would have imagined that there was some other revenue model. There was some way to get, money that was neither political nor big business house. Naive. I was young and innocent. I recognize today that I don't see some idealized media ownership model, right? I don't see it. I don't see it in India. I actually don't see it anywhere in the world.
Actually, you're right. Because after the spread of the internet, the way advertising revenues have moved, I mean, the revenue models of all mainstream media organizations have been turned upside down.
So I have a line for this. There are three options: are the tyranny of the tyranny of the state, which is where we used to be when the state controlled news media. It went the tyranny of the market, where we totally depend on advertisers, and now in the digital age, the tyranny of the algorithm. So if it doesn't get clicked,
good one.
Yeah, right. So the point is, there is no utopian model for TV news, especially TV, because it's capital intensive. The best a journalist can do is within the confines of, because no newsroom is 100% free. I say this having worked in this profession, there is no absolute news freedom. Every media owner have either agendas, affiliations, or other fear of legal suits, whatever. There is
constraints.
Or constraints. There are many reasons, and I'm not making a judgment here. I'm simply saying, what does a journalist do in this situation? A journalist says, within these constraints, I will try and be as dignified and as honest and as accurate as is humanly possible. On the partisanship, I want to say, even if the BJP proves that I am ideologically partisan, let's say that is their main grounds against me.
That you are pathologically anti-Bharatiya Janata Party, anti-RSS.
Suppose they say that, which I have not agreed with, but suppose they say that, let's assume hypothetically for it to be true. So, am I not allowed to function as a journalist because I have an ideological leaning? Am I only allowed to function as a journalist if I support the BJP? So I find this bizarre thing that, maybe you're not being allowed to function because maybe your promoters are on the other side. But there are enough channels on this side. There are enough channels owned officially by people on this side. So hypothetically, let's assume I have an ideological leaning. That cannot become a basis to not allow a person to, to work. And I think what's been good for me is I can write. Nobody can stop me. I write for the Washington Post. They can't.
You write for the Week.
I write for the Hindustan Times. I'm starting my own digital venture. It's television that's the problem because it's a severely controlled by government sector.